I used to always think that there was something wrong with me. Throughout my entire public school, K through 12, and even some college, and throughout my time in the corporate world and in the military, there was always the feeling that I was not I, I was I was not doing what I should do because everybody else were working hard. They were doing all of the tasks. Things were set a certain way and you had to do them in a certain way. And whether it was through stubbornness or whether it was through laziness, I always asked why. Why did it have to be that way? And I'll go through some examples and I'll give you some examples of some people that I know who are intelligent, lazy entrepreneurs and why it is a superpower to be this way. And you might know some intelligent, lazy entrepreneurs in the major world stage. I'm going to talk about that in a second. So, before we get into that, hi, my name is Dean Soto. I'm the founder of prosulum.com, prosulum.com. We are a virtual staffing agency. You might have heard of virtual assistants. You might have heard of employees, in-house, remote workers, people who you give tasks to. And more often than not, they're going to ask you questions back, and then you'll give them another task, and they'll ask questions, and hopefully they accomplish the task. We have what's called virtual systems architects. Very similar, however, the questions, all that jazz virtually disappears because you give them a task and they document that task. You give them another task and they document that task. You give them another task and they document that task step by step into a standard operating procedure, and then they do the task. So now every task you give them, now your entire organization knows how to do that task, which means you can become an intelligent, lazy entrepreneur, which is what we're going to talk about now. So if that sounds good to you, if you'd like to just literally start automating your business, go to www.prosulum.com. And if you really want to, hop on a call with us, www.prosulum.com/schedule to see if it's right for you. Usually more than half, or usually it's less than half the cost of a minimum wage employee, at least here in California. So give us a little look-see. But let's get back into this. So the intelligent, lazy entrepreneur. This comes from a book called The 80-20 Principle by Richard Koch, Koch. If you haven't read The 80-20 Principle, it is a must read. It is very, 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 very good. And the reason being is because it teaches you how to do the effective things. Now, if you looked at some of the past videos, past presentations that I've talked about, you have efficiency and then you have effectiveness. This allows you to focus on what's effective. Focus on the 20% that gives you 80% results, okay? And part of that is being an intelligent, lazy entrepreneur, okay? All right, so here's the deal. Hard work is a trap. And this is where throughout my entire public school, except for 8th grade junior high, literally that was the only year where I made the switch and I was like, I'm going to do the hard work. My entire public school career was the feeling of, why do I need to do this thing over and over and over and over and over again? And because I didn't like it, because I'm in school for 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 hours during the day, now I have to take homework to couldn't I have done that in class? And so I refused to do my homework. And what did that lead to? It led to me being failed, being in the principal's office, being luckily I was never held back. But all these different things would happen to me. I'd be in detention. I would get obviously bad marks, bad grades, and it sucked. Basically, they were telling me that I was dumb, but I could not bear to do the same thing over and over again. It was funny because in eighth grade, I just had this feeling. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to show everyone that I could do this. I'm going to do this just to prove that I could do it if I wanted to. So in eighth grade, I got all A's except for one A minus in my pre-algebra class. And and I would that even that I was like, oh man, I could have done it. I could have done it. But I got literally straight A's, got on the principal's honor roll, got to go up and get the little certificate for that and everything like that. And I all of my all of my teachers were astonished. But I'm like, yeah, of course I could do this. I told you I could do this. And then I started thinking, yeah, I'm gonna go to high school and I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm just gonna get straight A's basically in high school. And my freshman year, I was hot to trot. I was so excited. I turned over a new leaf. I'm gonna be just like everybody else. And I remember clearly it was Mr. Wilfert's electronics class, and it was an elective. It wasn't even like a main class. I was one of his best students in there, and I want to say it was maybe 2 months into it, we had a test, and the test had it was one of those where each you had a bunch of letters and you had a bunch of answers. You only have one answer for each letters. Well, when I write if I write a T, sometimes I have like a little hook on there. Long and the short is he thought my T was an F. And I even and he marked me down on the answer. And I went over to him and I'm like, "Hey, Mr. Wolfert, I mean, if you look, here's my F going to this one. My T is actually this would be right if you like looked. It's not an F." And he looks at me and he's like, "No, that looks like an F to me." And at that point, I was like, "I'm done. I'm back. I'm done. Like that is BS. I'm done." And so I literally went back to I'm not going to work this hard. If I could have somebody do that to me, it's not worth it. Okay. In my view, busy does not equal productive, and effort doesn't equal results. Okay. For me, I work. I never in my mind I was like, I'm not going to do all this hard work just to have something like that happen. And so from then on, I went back to kind of the more intelligent lazy. I'd pass all my tests. I would not do the homework, but I would find a way. I ended up going to like adult school and just doing these packets. And I'm like, oh, dude, if I would have known this, I would have done this for my high school, because I ended up doing like 4 years of high school in like less than a year, almost like less than a year, and graduated that way. This is where the most successful entrepreneurs, you'll find that they don't work harder than everyone else. They just work differently. Okay. And so intelligent and lazy defined. Okay. We've all heard the working smarter, not harder. True. Okay. You look at Elon Musk, you look at Jeff Bezos, you look at Mark Cuban, you look at any of the big guys, they run multiple businesses. They're CEOs of multiple businesses, plus they're on the board of directors of multiple businesses. Plus they're doing R&D for all these other stuff. The reason they're able to do that is because they know how to spend their time most effectively. Okay? They don't do the unnecessary work. They get other people to do that type of work. Okay? The best entrepreneurs are lazy. They refuse to do the work that doesn't matter. Okay? It's not about avoiding work. It's about being ruthlessly selective. When I'll give another story is when I was deployed overseas, the way that they would I was in military intelligence, and the way and what we would do in my particular intelligence field is we would monitor trade routes and supply routes and see what is happening and stuff. Long and the short is, when I got overseas, the previous people, it would take them, in order to create their slides for the day to do their briefings and stuff, it would take them about 8 to 9 hours to do what was called trend analysis. And that was because they had all these different spreadsheets. They didn't know how to use databases. They didn't know how to do certain things. So when I did it the first time, I knew, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is, I cannot do this. There's no way. I'm not doing this every day, because it's just a freaking waste of time doing it this way. And I figured, look, if I can figure out how to create a database, use SQL, understand SQL, do a little bit of coding, a little bit of scripting, I can make this into an actual thing where we can automate and do all the things come in, the incidents come in, and we're able to boom, 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 right? Those 8 hours a day turned into about 20 minutes a day, okay, because of that one thing. Now, that meant that we had 7 hours and 40 minutes of extra time to do whatever. What it didn't mean was, okay, we have 7 hours and 40 minutes extra. Let's just do it the old way so we fill up time. No, now we could innovate. Now we could become better intelligence analysts. Now we could do more. Okay. When you're working 80 hours a week, you're not doubling your output. You're cutting in half your hourly value. Okay. The more time you spend, the less money you're making. Time is finite. It is the most finite resource that you have. Okay. The more that you can learn to scale, the more that you can learn to be effective in that time and to automate, especially, the more money you're going to make on an hourly basis. Okay. Every hour spent $20 an hour work costs you 1,000 in potential business growth. Okay. This is why, if like a Jeff Bezos, if you ask for an hour of his time to give a speech, this is why he can command 50, 100, $1 million for that speech. It's probably more close to between 100,000 to $1 million for that 1 hour, because he has been able to set himself up to where his hourly rate is really that. Are you running 13 different businesses and are on 10 other businesses' board of directors? Probably not. And these businesses are 10-figure plus businesses. So that is what should drive you. Your business value is inversely proportional to your personal involvement, okay? The more that you're involved, the more hours you spend, the less money you're making, okay? You are the bottleneck. Every task you do personally limits your business growth. And you have to think that you could say, "Well, but I enjoy it." But it's something that if you were to go on a vacation, now the business stops. Now the revenue stops. Now the cash flow stops. You might enjoy it, but what if you enjoyed that versus enjoying something even greater, something that you're creating, letting that be handled by someone else and building something even greater over here on the side. Now you're making money over here and potentially making even more money over here. If there's something where it must flow through you, your business is constrained. Systems always beat sweat. This is why, as I've said before, Elon Musk can have a ton of businesses. Bezos can have a ton of businesses because they have a ton of systems. Documented processes create predictable results, and you don't need to be present. Systems work when you don't, whether it's people, whether it's software, and so on. This is how businesses scale. Okay. This is how businesses grow. McDonald's, I do not eat at McDonald's. Please, please, please. I think if you go and look at TikTok, like, hey, there's this one guy that like it has a Big Mac from like a year ago and it's still in pristine condition. I don't know what's made of, man. I don't know what it's made of. But they make it and they have a system for it and people like it. No, you do what you want. You can eat whatever you want. It's your individual choice, okay? They didn't need culinary geniuses. That's why they have high school students. They have kids with work permits able to work there, okay? Their systems are quality no matter what. And this is where the problem really ends up showing is that because there's no systems, delegation fails. We think that because we're taught even with in public school, the teacher gets up there and teaches and then tells us to do which homework to do. And that is the style of delegation we're taught throughout our entire life, right? Teacher gets up and teaches, we're going to read this part of the textbook, go to that part of the textbook. All right, and now you're going to write an essay on a 1,000-word essay on this thing. That's it. It's not a documented process. It's not, you're never really truly taught to the value of having something that's step by step. More often than not, you're just told, boom, boom, this is what you're supposed to do. And what happens? A lot of times kids will go up and say, hey, can we double space it? Hey, can we do this? Hey, can we do that? Hey, and the teacher's answering a ton of questions. Oh, darn, I thought we could double space it after they've submitted it. Now the kid gets an F because they didn't follow the instructions that were not there, right? So a lot of us in business, this is how we started to delegate things. We would say, hey, this is how you do XYZ, and we would just walk them through the process, or we would tell them verbally, and they would mess up, and they would ask a question, and you'd say, just figure it out, and you would abdicate they would go and try and figure it out. They do it wrong, and you think that they're dumb. You think that I can't find good help, but really it's because you haven't empowered them. And so going back to when I built that database, it took me, I want to say, when I wasn't doing the trend analysis, if I would put in the hours, I would say it took me about 8 hours of solid, dedicated work to build the first version of the database. Okay. And that first version was what saved a ton of time. So then I can build out more and more and more and more. Okay. It would automatically spit out charts for me, all this other stuff. Right. But I had to put in the work, which a lot of people would say that's too much work, to end up saving a ton of time. This is why documented processes, yeah, it's a lot of work, except unless you have a VSA. If you have a virtual systems architect, you just show them what to do and they'll document it and then they'll do it. Cheat code, there you go, boom, prosulum.com/schedule. Or you can write it out yourself, and it is going to take a long time. It is going to take a lot of work. But then you never have to do that task again, and you don't have the abdication problem. So like with a virtual systems architect, the way that we do it is we record, they document, then you say, oh, that's great. That looks great. Then you delegate, and then your business scales. Okay. The upfront for you would be the upfront recording, taking the 5 minutes to record it, taking the 10 minutes to record it, and then it gets documented and then delegated and scaled. Okay. To me, that's the intelligent, lazy entrepreneur. Okay. I would rather spend the time to get my process documented, knowing that I'll never have to do it again when it's right, when it's documented correctly. I'll never have to do that task again, especially if it's a repeatable task. I do not like repeatable tasks, and for me doing it personally. And that investment is going to pay in dividends because now I can take my attention elsewhere and know that's being taken care of. So recording, documenting, delegating, and scaling. All that knowledge that's trapped in your head has zero value for your business. An intelligent, lazy entrepreneur automates the predictable, whether it's delegating to somebody else through a process, whether it's creating a software solution or an AI solution or something like that. If it has a pattern, it can be systemized. And so the intelligent, lazy entrepreneur looks at it and goes, I don't want to do that every single time. I don't need to. I'm going to figure out a way to make this go away. And I'll put in the effort ahead of time, what we call strategic laziness. I'm going to put in a ton of effort, and then that'll free me to be lazy again. Okay. So things like customer onboarding, reporting, email follow-ups. Your time is too valuable to spend on tasks that can run without you. And you should always have that in your mind. Okay. This is where you can start saying no. You can start saying no by saying yes up front and getting it documented, getting it off your plate so then you can say no forever. Okay. Successful entrepreneurs are elimination experts. Stop wasting time on meetings that don't matter. Stop wasting time on tasks that don't matter. None of this. That's just the way we've always done it. And you start documenting processes that are necessary in your business. Start high leverage activities. High leverage is documenting your processes so that you can get out of that rat race and start innovating for your business. Like, for example, one of the things right now is I developed a thing for my AI to do a ton of cold emails. Now, there's a process in that that's not fully developed. Guess who's doing all of this right now? Me. But when I can send 100,000 cold emails every month, and they're all personalized, all customized, all look amazing, all able to be kept track of. Once that's done and it's perfected, guess who's going to be documenting that, getting that process documented? Me. It gets documented by one of my VSAs, and then they do it from then on. And I just look at it and go, okay, hey, here's the dashboard. I'll make a dashboard for myself and monitor the whole thing. And you continue what only truly works. Focus isn't about doing more things. It's about doing the right things. Okay. And then 1 hour, this is the key, 1 hour spent creating systems can save hundreds of hours of repetitive work. Yeah, it sucks documenting. That's why I created VSAs in the first place. Go find VSAs somewhere else. You won't. I created VSAs for this reason, because I'm an intelligent, lazy entrepreneur. Systems plus people equal freedom. Systems plus outsourcing equals freedom. This is where, as an intelligent, lazy entrepreneur, you're building a business that works without you. Do the upfront work to build that software that automates something, set up that AI that automates something, document that process that automates for humans to do it, and you'll never have to do it again. The 1 hour, 2 hour, 3 hours. With a VSA, it's 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes of your time, as opposed to hours and hours and hours. If you look at my past videos, my very first documented process that saved me, oh my gosh, at least 20 hours a week. That one process took me about 10 to 12 hours to do, if not 15 hours to do. But when I did it, I never had to do it again. And it made me money and saved me 20 hours a week. Would you spend 12 hours to make automated cash flow and save 80 to 100 hours per month? Because sometimes there's 5 weeks in a month. I would. I would start small. Start with the most ungodly task that you hate doing and start documenting it or build something for it and realize that you don't have to do it and document it and then start delegating it to somebody else. The perfect system beats perfect plans and perfect producing, I should say. If you just focus on one thing, one process, documented this week, you're going to see that it will save you a ton of time. It'll give you space mentally, and you'll be able to make way more money in the long run because you'll want to do the next. When you see somebody else do the thing and you're like, whoa, I never have to do this again. This is freaking awesome. It changes your life. More profit, more time, less stress. That's intelligent, lazy entrepreneurs. That's what they feel all the time. What can I work on next? What can I do next? How can I support my team? How can I make more money so my business grows? Everything changes. So if that sounds good to you, and if it sounds like you are an intelligent, lazy entrepreneur, go to www.prosulum.com/schedule, get on a call with us, or you just check out the site. You can see if it's something that's right for you. But I highly, highly, highly suggest that if this is you, if you resonate with this, go check out prosulum.com/schedule, set up a call, and start to fulfill that calling. In my opinion, it's a calling because not everyone thinks this way, of being that intelligent, lazy entrepreneur, the one that looks for the most effective, not just the most efficient way to do something, but the most effective way so that they can run 1, 2, 10, 20 different businesses all successfully and achieve all of the things that you've ever wanted to achieve in life. So if that sounds good to you, go to prosulum.com/schedule, www.prosulum.com/schedule, and I'll see you in the next video.